Welcome, everyone. Jace from Vox Populi, 1788. The voice of the people, or something like that. Ah, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, if you'd like to join the show, you may do so. How am I coming out? Y'all hearing me all right? Yeah, okay. We can hear just fine. Um, yeah, at the top of the how do I invite people? Let me see. I'm new to this program. I'm learning it. Um, I'll just do this. Feel free to jump in today. Talk about whatever you want. And yeah, there's some things going on that, well, it doesn't bother me. It actually makes me proud to see. And what it is well, last night the Crucible went live. Andrew Wilson raised over $50,000 for starving people. I think that is amazing. And thank you all to those who did that. We got a pentuple in the background. What's up, buddy? How you doing?
Here to say Landon sucks and is a slanderous liar.
Well, maybe you shouldn't talk about Jews as much. Maybe that's what you need to do.
No, I'm happy to be here. Happy to join the new show, Vox Populi.
Yeah, the voice of the people, man. I actually like it. And look, I'm even over on kick.com. I know no one's over there watching, but that's okay.
Hey,
But yeah,
no,
look,
Kick is the best.
the idea behind this, first of all, the call-in shows I think are going to be one of the most interesting things that we can do because I can bitch about all kinds of things under the sun. However, it is more interesting to have other people come and bitch to me, and then if I know about it, cool, I comment on it. If I don't, I'll ask more questions and come up with some things, some ideas, some all the things, and yeah, work at it like that. And then on top of that, you've known about this for a while, but I haven't actually put it out there in the ether. The Steelman series, the Steelman debate series. Yeah, the Steelman debate series. It's actually going to be a one-on-one debate show where I will have various people do a little bit of judging in the background. People of different backgrounds, left, right, and possibly even center. And once we get donations set up and everything, people can donate money and force the opponents to fight each other using their opponent's arguments for like
It's
five
gonna be
minutes.
fun. I'm gonna
And
hate doing it, but we'll make it fun.
yeah, it'll actually be pretty nerve wracking because most people, and you know this, Pentuple, most people when you do your debates, you're talking past each other. You're not actually listening to your opponent and everything else. And I think it'll be more fun if we actually force them to engage in the conversation properly.
Me and Tyler on Israel would be hilarious. We
It
would
would.
both just bad faith the hell out of each other's arguments.
Yes, yes. Um,
It'd be hilarious.
so
Is he
I'm
gonna
interested
join? What's he
in
gonna do?
in doing stuff like that. It's going to be the two main types of shows that we do here. Yeah, Tyler joined us. One of us. One of us. Something like that.
Yes.
I don't like I like Streamlabs or StreamYards,
Nah,
but
it
I'm
sucks.
but I figured I would try this one. It's a little different. I got a new camera.
Yeah, camera
Uh,
looks good.
yeah,
Fuzzing out the background.
yeah, it just does that. So this, I'm actually, I'm using an SLR camera instead of your traditional lame webcam. I don't know if it makes too much of a difference, but yeah, just trying to do things. Trying to, I want to do it right this time. Last time when I was doing this, I mean, yeah, I was still monetized, Yeah, I was making a little bit of money, uh, but I wasn't having fun. And if you're not having fun, why do this shit? Um, so that's the whole idea. What's aggravating you today? Pinto?
Oh, I don't know. I was working all day, so my brain's just been in mostly work mode. Um, I debated on Twitter a little bit with with Lemur. I don't know if you've ever stumbled across that account on X, but we were talking about Mark Kelly. Actually, this would be a great topic because
Okay.
you're military. Mark Kelly's video, and that apparently they're looking at charging him for um, I don't remember what the crime was, but it's about like affecting the faith in your leadership in the military. I'd be
Yeah.
curious to know from you, as someone who's in the military, former military. I don't know exactly where you stand on that, but you can throw that in with your answer. But do military service members know? Are they intimately familiar with this speech restriction of souring the faith and leadership that they're sort of attaching to Mark Kelly? I know there's a section. I was looking at Grok the whole time, but they're looking at going after Mark Kelly because of his video where he was saying, you don't have to do, you should refuse illegal orders and stuff. And everyone's arguing that if you look at just the transcript on its face, he's saying, refuse illegal orders, which on its face is a perfectly fine thing to say. But I'm arguing that there is something to look at here where you have the intent and the purpose of that statement. What is he insinuating? What is his intent in putting out this message? Is it to, affect the faith that people in the military have in the chain of command and whatever? I'd be very curious what you think about all of it.
Okay, so Mark Kelly is a U.S. Navy captain, retired. He was a naval aviator. He actually knows the difference between what is considered a legal versus illegal order. The problem with the statement is that he is actually creating a seditious conspiracy by teaming up with these other senators and telling individuals in the military that you do not have to follow illegal orders. Here is the problem with their statement: it's technically true. It's a lawyer lie, if you will. Um, so you're not wrong. As a military member, you should not follow illegal orders. However, it is not your place as a military member to determine the legality of said order. Your job is
Right.
to execute. So if he was active duty, he would be immediately court-martialed for sedition, for mutiny, which in the Navy, mutiny is punishable by death. But the truth of it is, he's a retired officer, colonel for the Army or Marine Corps, captain for the Navy, Coast Guard, things like that. Um, he can be called back to active duty, and he can be possibly charged with violations of the UCMJ, because even as a retired officer, you're never fully off duty. You can always be called back at his level. He's not a flag officer, thank God, so that would be a bigger issue. But uh, technically, they could get him, but the reality is probably not, because he is retired. He is serving as a regular civilian, and he is. It is within his freedom of speech to say what he did.
Well,
Which,
I know it doesn't violate the civilian standard, but I was reading, and of course this is Grok. I know better
yeah,
than to trust Grok, especially with legal things. But I was looking at it, and it says that retired officers are still subject to the UCMJ standards. They have to be brought back in to face the court martial or reactivated or something like that, but they are still subject to that
yes,
standard.
yeah, yes,
So
they
I guess
are.
what's your view on it as far as whether this is something that we should allow? Because I think the fact that he's a sitting senator and the fact that he's invoking his military record is what makes this arguably like this. It should fall under UCMJ. He's invoking that record and his status as a sitting senator. If this was some random guy that was just retired military living, with his family in some, random state, it doesn't matter, it would be, I think, less meaningful than the fact that he still does carry that authority and invoke that experience in the military.
So
But maybe I'm off base with that. I don't know. I've been thinking about this today.
I I've been thinking about this past couple days, and Mark Kelly's the only one that could really be subject to anything of any consequence. The fact that he is a sitting U.S. senator offers him a bit of protection, and I think the Trump administration would be stupid to pursue it. It would burn a lot of it would burn a lot of political capital that he doesn't need to burn for a conviction that he will not get, because a military member, most military members, even officers, will go, well, he's retired. He was acting in his standard as a sitting U.S. senator, and for that reason, they will give him the pass. If he was actively on orders, in uniform, different animal. So, uh, it, it, I think I think what they did was stupid, and what they're doing is they're trying to set up military members to get themselves messed up. That's really
Right.
what it seems like they're doing, um, where they can go tee hee, ooh woo, I didn't do anything. I was just using my freedom of speech, and these people, these plebs, these idiots, were just so stupid to sit there, and instead of taking us figuratively, they took us literally. And what was it? I think Mark Kelly was even pressed, and they asked him what illegal orders has Trump given, and he offered none.
Right.
So it's
Well, it
they're
could be worse for him
playing.
if he offered one. Maybe. I don't know.
Well, if Trump
But
if Trump was to offer some illegal orders, the thing that I would probably find the most egregious right now would probably be what's going on in the Mediterranean off the coast of Venezuela. I have mixed feelings about that, about those actions, mainly because we haven't declared war, and secondly, this isn't a uniformed enemy to say. So if you look at the videos of the boats, it looks like there's 55-gallon drums of stuff. We don't know what it is, and I think it is not illegal, but I think it is skirting that extrajudicial line, and we shouldn't be engaging in such things outside of our territorial waters. Just my opinion.
well, I don't know, but I'll just ask the question. I'll put it this way because I don't definitely am not an expert on any of this, but a lot of people are criticizing these videos of the boats getting blown up and saying, "Oh, the boat looks empty. How do they know there's drugs?" This is based on the video that we're seeing. Like I do presume, and I feel like this is a safe assumption, and I wouldn't know the answer to this without asking somebody directly involved. But I do assume that when we see these boats, this is not the first time that our military is engaging with these boats or seeing these boats. They probably, like, we see the 10-second clip of them getting blown up that Hexeth posts. Like, the
Mm-hmm.
military probably saw them leave the country of origin. They probably had intel when they were loading up the boat. I don't know what different types of intel they would have, but there's kind of this assumption that people on X have where it's like this is all they had was just they flew over the ocean, they saw this boat in the water and said, "Oh, it must be a drug boat," and just hit it, right? There's got to be more intel behind what's going on than what's in the 10-second video that we're seeing, right?
Yeah, yeah, no doubt. And Jack, yes, yes, you can always call me Sparky, man. It's fine. But hey,
Sparky is
look,
your best name.
Jack, you've met me in person. You actually know my name is Jason. So, so here's the deal: the amount of intel that we've collected, I don't know. I have seen some intel on the boats that have been hit, and they know what is on the boats. Now they may tell the common person fentanyl or stuff like that, but it could be the precursors of fentanyl. They're obviously carrying something. You've got those big barrels. Those aren't empty.
Right.
So they have intel. The amount of intel we aren't privy to, nor is it should that be any of our concern. I think where the actual concern is that we're engaging in kinetic activities, mostly in international waters, but we're doing kinetic deadly force actions out on the waters against an ununiformed enemy and where we may know or have a general idea of who they are and what and who they work for. I don't know if I don't think we have the type of strike package like what we would have in Iraq and stuff like that when we were actively engaged in a physical conflict. Right now, we're flexing, and it. I'm not worried about our war fighters being prosecuted for war crimes because I don't see any war crimes being committed. But it will lessen our influence on the globe if we continue to do this stuff um,
Well,
without
if it's
enough transparency.
well, the transparency, I would think, needs to be like it doesn't all need to be public. Like it's nice for
No,
you and me to well, I say yeah, I know you're in the military, so maybe you'd be in a position where you should know. But when I think of myself, I'm like, it feels good. I want to know. I'm curious, but it's like if the truth of the matter is that they are taking out fentanyl, they're taking out traffickers of these drugs that are killing, Americans in mass. It's not really pertinent that I know exactly what that intel is. What I want to know and what I think I should get to know is that it's all on the up and up,
yeah,
however that is done, whatever info needs to be relayed there. But as far as this idea that's like, oh, well, I need to be able to say I could sign off on it. It's like I'm not in the military. I don't know why. Like it'd be good to know, it'd be cool to know. I want to make sure I want our government to, assure us and honestly, assure us that they're carrying out these strikes with good intel. But I do find it a little like I don't necessarily agree that it's like this all needs to be public. The average person needs to know exactly what the military knows about these boats. And when we're talking about these boats, we're not talking about like I mean, it'd be one thing if this was like these are drugs that are coming over and killing Americans. This isn't like like an immigrant boat where they're bringing over. I mean, because like that would be egregious. Obviously, I think we all know that if it was just like people bringing over immigrants in a boat and we were just like, oh, we'll just nuke the boats. It's like that. Well, that's that's pretty crazy. That's not okay. But with these drug boats, this is something that is killing a lot of Americans, and I do actually support this deterrent aspect where it's like, hey, if you're thinking about trafficking pounds and pounds of fentanyl up to the U.S., maybe you should think twice about your odds of making it up there without your boat getting exploded. I think it's a good thing. But like I said, I want to know that everything's on the up and up. However, that is done. I don't know that
yeah.
I necessarily need to know the exact intel and be
So I don't
reassured that
think
like, oh, I can say with 100% certainty that this is all good.
I don't think we need to know the exact thing. I think we just need a broad overview. Hey, we know that these drugs were being transported with this intent. Jack T. Ripper, the serial killer. If the Coast Guard is involved, which department are they operating under? Would that be Department of Transportation, DoD? It's now the Department of War, buddy, or DHS. They haven't been mobilized, as far as I know, so they would still be under the DHS banner, which they can operate out in international waters, if I remember right. However, I don't think it's the coasties that are really getting kinetic with it. It's mostly the Navy, the U.S. Marine Corps, and some Air Force. As far as what we know, we don't need to know a ton. We really don't. It's not our business. It is really for it's really for the Department of War, their intel, and the commanders on the ground what they know, what they need to know. Landon is just giving you all kinds of hell. That's kind of funny.
Yeah, he's
Uh,
been doing that for a while.
hey, nothing wrong there. Look, anytime you're giving hell, I actually think it's kind of funny. Um, but yeah, it's one of those things. There's a lot of gray area that we don't know enough about, and the people who are saying, "Well, this is illegal." Okay, sure. Just like the deployment of National Guardsmen to protect federal buildings was considered illegal up until the point that it gone to court, it's been adjudicated, and some of it has been upheld as illegal, some of it has been upheld as illegal, and it is going through the appeals process. The problem with going with the whole legal order aspect of it, and you're an attorney, you know that until all the appeals have been expended, there is no real decision. Is that a proper way to look at it?
Um,
Because if you're like, okay,
Depends, I think.
Trump was convicted, 34 counts, some, I mean, everything was a misdemeanor that he was convicted of, but they kicked it up to a felony because of, well, but they never named an actual crime. So this is going to appeal, and his conviction is on hold for that. Am I incorrect there?
I think you are, because I think if I were to write, if I were to write a motion or something and I cited case law in a case that was on appeal, I think that the judge would not be interested in that particular case citation because it is on appeal. It's actively being appealed. So you're right in some sense, but I do wonder if there are times where you could cite case law for a decision or a conviction or something like that, even though there's an appellate process in the works. But I want to lean towards that you're correct, actually, that if you were, making a motion in court and you cited case law from a trial that is now at the appellate level, that it is possible that the judge would just say that they're not interested in that holding.
Well, because because it just, and this is me being a layman, the idea of, even though a judge has rendered a decision on it, because there is still questions within that decision, that it's not settled. It's not a settled law type opinion.
Right.
So,
Well, there's always, even if you have a case law where something happened, it's not impossible to make. There's not no arguments that could be made against
yeah,
even what was held in that conviction. This is how the appellate level does overturn convictions all the time. That is a
yeah.
regular thing that happens. So it's not
So,
rare.
so
It's not necessarily rare.
it's just one of those things. Like I love the semantic argument over Trump being pardon me, a convicted felon. And some people will say, yes, he was convicted, but from what I understand, technically he isn't convicted because the judge has not rendered um, a decision on the punishment. Is that a thing, or is that
Well, yeah, he's got to be sentenced before I think it's. Uh, I don't know.
so? Technically,
I'll have to ask Rock, Landon.
he may not be a convicted felon. There is a conviction that's weighing against him, but since the sentence hasn't been rendered, technically he may not be a
Yeah,
felon.
yeah, because I think that it is possible that you could have well, actually, yeah, I think so, because you could have the jury come back with a conviction, and then you could motion to dismiss, or like irrespective of the jury verdict, and if you
Yeah,
have a convincing argument, the judge could throw it out, and the jury is not like the
yeah.
effective
The judge has to
move there.
render the sentence before for the conviction to be final, and that's just my horribly ill-informed idea on it. But I know a judge can set aside the jury verdict and
Yes.
completely nullify it. So, I mean, I like the idea of a jury looking over, but they can be manipulated so easily because we don't know. The common layman just doesn't have enough knowledge to be able to understand all the intricacies of the law.
That's
So,
true.
I mean,
That's
not
true.
trying to make you sound all high and mighty and awesome, but you do have a little bit more credentials when it comes to talking about this stuff. I'm pretty dumb. I'm kind of retarded, some would say.
No, I mean, I think you've been right so far on everything.
But yeah,
I'm like your baby attorney. You know what I mean? I'm not your.
yeah.
In 20 years, I'll be like way. If I'm still streaming in 20 years, it'll be a lot different than right now, where I'm at like the very beginning of my trial lawyer career.
Hey, I'm actually happy that you're doing actual lawyer work instead of
Shit, paper
contract
pushing.
disputes. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Well, I did mortgage document reviews for a
oh
bank that
god,
foreclosed on loans. So that's what I did.
fucking kill me, man. That's horrible.
Yeah, it was bad. As soon as I got back from Germany, I quit my job, and I was like, "All right, where to?" And shout out to the Texas 2A attorney, CJ Grisham, the goat, my forever goat. He,
Oh,
he
dude,
took
I'm
me
really
under his
excited
wing.
about you working with him. I mean, I honestly think that the majority of y'all's clients are cringe because 1A auditors and 2A auditors are cringe.
Well, I
Uh,
wouldn't say those make up most of our clients,
that's the
but
ones that I've been tracking mostly
well,
because they're the ones that CJ talks
do you
about
consider
mostly.
the Chad Summers case that we were working for to be a Second Amendment auditor?
Yes, 100%. The guy that was running around
So
with
is
his
anyone open carrying an auditor?
open carry is cringe. Yes, yes, they are an
Everyone
auditor.
who's open
Yeah.
carrying is an auditor.
Well, if you're out in public, if you're out walking in the woods, it's a different animal. But
No,
if
he's
you're
walking in his local park.
yeah, he was walking. And look, there's nothing wrong with it. It's just cringe. That's
But
the that
you're saying it's cringe to
it is cringe
in
because
exercise your constitutional right.
no, there is nothing wrong with exercising your constitution. Here's where I find the difference. I carry every day. Every day I carry. No one knows it.
Well,
Okay.
you conceal carry, I guess.
Yes, I can still carry.
Yeah.
When you open carry, you are openly inviting attention to yourself. And
Right, but
that is where the
wouldn't an
auditing
auditor
portion
be
comes in.
someone who's like taking video of themselves doing it to go get like videos on YouTube views and stuff like that? This guy was just walking at the park exercising his right.
He was exercising his right, and
He's a
I mean,
20 plus year decorated war
dude,
veteran.
I'm not saying he's a bad guy.
No, I know, but I when I think of an auditor, I'm thinking of someone who's like got a YouTube channel or some other platform that they're uploading videos.
They
They're,
always don't have to do
wearing
that.
a camera. This guy's just
So
exercising his right to carry.
I knew a guy. Well, I know a guy here. He does the open carry auditing stuff. Now he films it. Now not everyone that works with him films, but they are doing it to see if the police, if your normal everyday first responder understands what is legal versus illegal carry, things like that. From what I understand, your client, he had it slung. It wasn't even armed, if I'm correct. If I remember right, he didn't even have a magazine in it.
No, he did. Well, the guy in Rockwall?
Yeah,
Yeah, he did.
he had a magazine. Was it loaded or?
Yeah, it was chambered and loaded.
Oh wow, okay. That's so the gun that he was carrying, not the best thing to just leave chambered. I'm just saying from a safety concern.
I
But
don't even know what the type of gun it was,
it was
honestly. I just know it was a
AR-15.
rifle.
It was AR-15. But AR-15 is like we don't even allow people to run around with the weapon chambered unless they are getting ready to actually engage, because they do have a not a tendency to misfire or fire uncommanded, but if you bump it hard enough, it can go off. But hey, he was exercising with it. He was trying to get back in shape, from what I understand, and he was using the added weight of the ammunition and the weapon. And was he wearing plates as well?
Um, I don't think so. I'm pretty sure he had like a bag with like medical equipment in it, had like a
Okay,
tourniquet in it
an
and stuff.
IFAC. Yeah,
Yeah, and then he had his rifle slung in front of him.
yeah.
And he was
I
just
mean,
walking around the park, and he had no issues until some lady said that she was
well,
scared and called because she doesn't
it
know
is
anything about
always
guns.
going to be a Karen that is going to call the police. And so
Right.
that's where the auditing aspect comes in. So I'm not saying he went out with the intention necessarily of being confronted by the police. However, he knew that that was a possibility, and he
Well,
went
why
ahead.
does he know if it's a possibility if it's correct and even the police acknowledge this, they went because of the phone call. The police don't stop everyone who's open carrying, especially in Texas. So I mean he'd walked around that park before with no incident. Like
Well,
it's once an interaction with the police happens, that makes him an auditor because that happened, or was he
yes.
auditing the whole time?
Well, I would argue that he is auditing the whole time, is if it's intentional or unintentional. But it's
Can
because
well,
I
an
don't think
auditor
that
is
you
kind of an
should.
intentional thing to be.
Not always, because
Well, I mean, are we constantly auditing freedom of speech?
yes, we actually are.
Are
We
we?
actually are.
Or are we
Yeah.
just engaging in freedom of speech?
Well, engaging. If you, it depends on where. So here on YouTube and over a Kick, we're just engaging. However, if we were streaming outside of City Hall doing this,
Right.
that's more of an auditing type thing.
Right.
Okay,
But open carry obviously applies in public spaces.
it does, absolutely. However,
Right.
when you
So
go into, and he was not an auditor up to the point Karen called on him. And look, it's always going to be. I bet it was a white woman, almost
I think she was like
100%.
Asian, honestly.
Really
I don't
close
remember.
enough. White
I'm sure she'll
adjacent.
get subpoenaed again. She didn't even want to be at the trial.
Well, because she actually caused the man pain and suffering because she was being a nosy fucking bitch. Let's just be honest. And I'm not trying to disparage her, but the problem that I see in America more than anything is mind your own fucking business. Just please. Unless you're seeing someone else be hurt, harmed, threatened, or otherwise, mind your fucking business. And that's where the problem is. That's where the problem is this woman called and she complained. The squeaky wheel will get the attention, will get the grease. The grease just happened to be cops. It also happened to be a female officer who was woefully underskilled to perform the job she was doing. And wasn't she the wasn't she the one that put the gun to his head?
The officer?
Yes.
One of
Who put the gun to
sorry,
your client's head?
the
Was it the
female
female
officer.
officer? Why does she still have a badge?
Yeah, she's
Why does
training.
that
She's
exist?
training other officers.
Why does that exist?
Why does what exist? The
Why
female
haven't
officer?
y'all pressed charges? Why haven't y'all pressed assault charges, assault with a deadly weapon?
Oh well,
Because
I
she
don't know
was
that
not
we can.
doing that in the commission of her job. She illegally pulled a weapon on someone and put it to his fucking head. Where in the police code of conduct does it say that you could put a gun executioner style against the head of someone?
Well, that's a good question. I know that we plan on bringing civil suit once the criminal trial is wrapped up.
Oh
But
no,
as far as
criminal.
getting a cop charged with assault, I mean, this is probably going to fall under qualified immunity.
No,
I mean,
I don't. I
officers
don't.
can point their guns at you if they
They
believe
can
you
point their
are
guns
blah
at
blah
you,
blah.
but when you put the gun up to someone's head directly,
Right.
that is not self defense. At that point, that is fucking assault. And I'm actually disappointed
Well, certainly I agree.
that y'all have not pressed for that to be raised to a criminal deal. The civil lawsuit is against the department, not against the officer. The
Well, it
criminal,
may be the case that that could happen. I'm not, lead counsel for this client or anything like that. CJ isn't either. But um and I don't know what the statute of limitations would be on it, but this particular prosecutor certainly isn't going to do it on our behalf. So I don't know how we would. I just don't know the legal process for getting those charges
yeah. And
placed.
see, this is just me,
I don't know if we can get around the prosecutor somehow, but
yeah, I think honestly, I think the fact that someone hasn't been screaming that from the high heavens, why does she even have a badge? She should have her gun taken away. If she's training other officers to be as irresponsible and as skillless as she is, I think that is criminal. You can add that to your civil lawsuit as well against the PD. But at the end of the day, she did a criminal act.
well, I
If
agree with that.
if you
Yeah.
put a gun to the side or the back of someone's head, you're going to be charged with assault with a deadly weapon, if not attempted murder. And I'm wondering why she's walking around with a shield on her fucking chest, flat chest, by the way. And you
Well,
know,
probably qualified immunity.
I
Probably.
I don't think you can attempt murder. I don't think attempted murder is covered under qualified immunity. Qualified immunity, from my understanding, is protecting the cop from civil suit, individual civil suit, not from criminal
Well, that's true.
actions. So,
Yeah, I don't know. I'll
lawyer,
get an
I'm
answer to
your
that though when I
lawyer.
talk to you about CJ again because they are retrying him in January. They had an 8-4 hung jury in favor of guilty last time.
Hmm.
So hopefully we can
So,
bend that back the other way. But this is also because that jury did not understand that control of the wrist, control is not the same as to take. So they believed that if he had an intent to control her wrist and that he did control her wrist, that is the same thing as saying he intended to take the gun that she was holding. By controlling her wrist, he is in control of the gun, and that he is intending to take it by taking control of her wrist. And it wasn't something that the judge allowed us to address with jury questions. So the jury was just in there deliberating on that question. And
Well, sounds like the judge was in on the take. I
no, I don't know about that, but it was just the judge just was like, "You have all the information, make your decision."
well
But we have
I
case law that counters that narrative.
well the problem that I have with that decision is basically I believe that the defense should be afforded any means to defend themselves. At the end of the day, the burden is on the state to.
Yeah, well, they asked that question. That when that question came up, it was when the jury was already deliberating. And so next time we do this, we are going to address the case law that talks about take and control. There will be no misconceptions in the jury room about whether taking the gun is the same as controlling the gun. And I think once we publish the body cam, whenever that day comes, I think it'll be very obvious. I mean, you've watched plenty of body cam. I'm sure I've watched plenty of body cam on YouTube. Most people have that we know. We know what it looks like when somebody's trying to take an officer's gun. This guy had a rifle in front of him. He was going to attack the officers. He didn't need her gun. She put it
No,
up to his head. He grabs the wrist and pushes it down.
he
Why
was
would he try?
defending
Like, he
himself.
doesn't need to take her gun if his intent
No.
is to shoot them or use a weapon against them because he's already holding a loaded weapon.
Mm-hmm.
And that's an argument maybe we need to make in there. All right, I'm gonna write that down. But it's so obvious when you watch the video. It's just blatant that he's clearly not intending to take an officer's weapon, and that's what
Well,
he's being charged with. Because people can complain about the open carry and the walking around and whatever and all this stuff, and the fact that he didn't yes daddy comply, and he was arguing about his that it was a consensual encounter and he could leave. But what he's
he
being
asked if
charged
he was
with is
detained.
taking the weapon.
Yeah, but he asked if he was detained, and this is where it runs into that auditing sovereign citizen type argument. And look, you should always ask if you are talking with a police officer. First of all, don't answer any fucking questions. Cops are not your friend. Second of all, asking if you're detained is not a bad question. Still be careful with how you act after you've asked that question because you are going to trigger their soft little blue hearts and because you're not respecting their authority. Um, I dislike cops. Uh, just throwing that out there. But I feel sorry for your client because I mean, this has already gone to a hung trial once. They're going to retry this where they should just drop it because to save the local police department a shit ton of money because the civil suit is where they're really going to pay. But that officer, she should not be licensed to be a police officer.
Well, I
Not
think when I watched the
because
last trial,
Mhm.
three of those four officers I think should not be officers, and the entire department came in on the day before jury deliberations, or the day of jury deliberations. They came in, and so they filled the courtroom with uniformed police officers.
Oh, an
And I'm just
intimidation
like,
tactic.
come on. Yeah, it's bullshit,
Yeah.
and it's insane, and it's even obvious that the prosecutor's office has an interest in a conviction, not in justice for what happened here, because they
Well,
are pulling every trick, you know, every anything that they can use to mislead the jury into a conviction here. It was just, it was brutal. It didn't come off honest at all, and I know that the prosecutors are, they're motivated to get convictions. That's why they bring charges. I don't
yeah.
necessarily fault them for that, but the officers, the police department, there really does need to be some sort of separation or from and you could tell that the prosecutor's office and these officers were very close. They were referring to each other by first name and catching
Mhm.
themselves. Like he was like, Brittany, oh, I'm sorry, I mean Officer Lawson. And I'm
Yeah.
like, these people know each other. You know what I mean? Like
Well, of
they're
course they
they're in
do.
a it's I didn't like what I saw.
Well, but that is the state of the justice of the the justice community in every place. Your local cops are always going to be familiar with the local DAs. You're always going to have this kind of stuff going on because they work together. So of course you're going to have a good solid working relationship. Where I have the real problem, and I didn't know about this. I didn't know that they brought a bunch of uniformed officers in there. That's jury intimidation. That is literally what that is. They might as well have been Black Lives Matter activists outside the courtroom. You know, seriously, what they were doing was an intimidation tactic.
I mean, it definitely was, I think, intimidating the jury, but whether it meets the bar of like jury intimidation, I mean, it's
The argument can exist that I'm not saying it's a slam dunk, but I could say
right.
without a doubt that this is definitely, oh, we're showing solidarity with our police officers. No, what you're doing is you're doing a show of force towards a jury. And that's where I have.
Well, they're
the
trying
issue.
to show, they're trying to make the impression to the jury that, oh, and you know, a not guilty verdict here would put us in danger and make, you know, this is would be anti-cop, and if you support officers, you know, you have to convict this guy. I mean, it certainly is a bullshit tactic.
It is.
So.
It is, and I hate the fact that y'all are going to have to retry that. But I find it interesting that you don't think that he was engaging in some form of auditing, knowingly or unknowingly, because he knew his
Well,
rights.
if you count auditing as if that's what auditing is, I mean, do I like like auditing?
When you
The way
went to
I would
go
have thought
do
about it
the-
before this conversation would be an intentional, like, I'm going to find out whether this is okay or not. I'm going to use a
okay.
video. I'm going to go film outside of a police department with a camera, or I'm going to walk around with a gun and all
when
that
you
stuff.
and CJ went and did that open carry protest where you audited.
Yeah,
at
that would be
time?
auditing.
Okay. Now, does it have to be a protest in order to be an audit?
No, I would say even when CJ and I were walking around in Texas and doing our open carry walk, that was technically an audit. We were seeing what would happen if we went and exercised our rights.
Mm-hmm.
But the difference here is that he didn't post it for content. You know,
No, he
his
didn't.
intent was to just exercise his rights and walk around his local park, and then he got accosted by the police.
Yes.
I don't think he had an intent or wanted the police to come mess with him. You know what I mean? Where CJ and I might have been like, this is great content. A cop came and stopped to talk to us. And it's probably not the best thing for me to say in case anything ever does happen during one of these audits.
Well,
but like, no,
so-
I think it is fair to audit. And I think auditing is something that is done intentionally with the purpose of seeing whether whether the police honor and respect your Second Amendment right or your First Amendment rights or whatever.
Am I right? But you were at January 6th, correct?
I was not.
You were not? Okay. Well, I was. Was I auditing?
I know a lot of people that were.
I thought you were because you were local or close to.
No, I went to work that day.
Oh, okay. So,
And I remember it because I was at work and I was like, oh, all my friends, I mean, I guess it's 2025. And my parents went, my elderly parents. This is why I'll never be gaslit on the January 6th question. Because it's like, if this was an insurrection, I was as, heavy and deep into MAGA as anyone. If this was anything we thought it was going to be beforehand, I would not have let my parents go. I would have persuaded them out of it. And I wouldn't
knew
have
it
gone to
was gonna
work.
be
I wouldn't
that
have been
way.
like, oh, hey, go get our country back. I'm going to go work at Costco. I'm just going to, I'm going to go pack boxes while you guys go fight for our country. They wanted to go say thank you to Trump for his first term.
Yeah,
That's what they
yeah.
wanted to do. And they went
So-
with the whole Republican club of my county. They took a bus. They took like a big bus down there. Like we had no idea anything was going to happen other than just like your typical standard, like show up in DC with your sign and protest.
So I went there with the intention of filming retards. I knew that.
Is that an audit?
Yes, 100%.
Is it an audit? Is every time you film something an audit though?
No, not every time you film something. Look,
But what were you auditing?
I went there with the intention of filming protests that I knew could potentially become riotous.
Sure.
I went and I entered the Capitol property. I did not go into the building, but I was on the grounds. I was in that frame auditing to a point. Now, was I auditing as much as the people on the stairs? Absolutely not. But anytime that you do a protest, you are doing an audit. And even if you are not an active participant in said protest, if you were there at that protest, you are auditing, I believe.
A protest is an audit.
100%. A protest is always going to be an audit because you are testing the limits of your freedom of speech at that moment.
I don't know if I
I
agree with that.
well,
But I have
you
to
know,
think about it. We're getting into the weeds of these words here.
well, we are a little bit, and maybe I'm being hyper semantic, but at the end of the day, I believe every protest is an audit. You are auditing your ability to enact your rights.
Well, like this is an example that's going through my brain right now. But like every restaurant I eat at, am I auditing it for food that won't make me sick?
No,
Because if it gets me sick, I'll be like, okay, this restaurant gets me sick. All
oh
right, I'm
man, what's
fucking done.
up?
Oh, my
Fuck this guy.
camera's tilted. Shit. Oh, shit. Oh, hey, what's up, Juiceberg and Jew?
Oi and they.
Name a more powerful duo than Jew plus Juiceberg.
Yeah, it's
I'm here still. I
Oh.
just have to close the camera.
yeah. He put the privacy lens on because his wife is walking around or something. He doesn't want her to be seen. And you know what? Congratulations on your wife and the privacy that you're trying to have in a place where the government is taking over your camera in inopportune times. And I'm sure they've seen your butthole more than once.
Woo, big government. Yeah, institutions. Hell yeah. Globalism.
It is time to ban Landon. Druid in chat is cooking right now.
Tyler, Tyler, are all protest audits? Would you think?
No, because most protests are led by stupid people that don't actually know the specifics of what they're even protesting most of the time, but they can be.
Well, okay. We could definitely press him on that, but I want to ask you this way. Is anyone who open carries an auditor?
Like a First Amendment YouTube auditor, you're
Second
saying?
Amendment.
So,
Well,
yeah, but
like we know, like First Amendment auditing, where they go and they film in places that like you can film or whatever. We're talking about if you wear an open carry and you walk around in public, are you auditing?
I'm sure there's a very high percentage of people where that does line up. But I'm like, what if like, hey, buddy, just grab your gun and come out with us. If the cops show up, just stand in the back and don't say anything. We just need another body in the crowd. Easily is a plausible scenario that could happen. But generally, yes, the people that are driving out the movement are definitely, I would say, they're Second Amendment auditors.
Well, see, I would argue
I'd
knowingly or unknowingly, you're still an auditor to some point.
Okay.
My position was that you're an auditor if like if you're filming and you're going out with the purpose of seeing whether the cops fuck with you because you're open carrying, that would be construed as an audit. But if you are just merely engaging in your constitutional right to open carry, you're not doing it for content, you don't have a camera on you, you're just walking around and you're exercising a right that we all have. I don't think that inherently makes you an auditor just because you could be fucked with. So, like, by Jace's definition, we're all First Amendment auditing right now. Or if I were to say a slur, if I said the N-word right now, my First Amendment auditing. Like if I were to threaten the president, in my First Amendment auditing.
But hold on. So
I gotta piss. I'm listening though.
Okay, but we talked about this. So basically, I said if we were out in public, if we were protesting out in public, we are essentially performing an audit, knowingly or unknowingly, because we are testing the limits of our freedoms. Okay. When it comes to a second A audit, it usually requires you got to possess a weapon that may make people seem a little queasy or whatever, and you have to be willing to stand up for your rights when the cop shows up. Case in point, his client that just got the hung jury when the cop pulled the gun on him, put it to his head because he was carrying a rifle walking around the park for exercise. Now, I consider that to be an audit because he was out in public with a gun, and he may have not been doing an active audit at the time, but once Karen called the cops on him and they showed up, He was standing up for his rights. He was testing the limits of said right. Therefore, he was an auditor.
So it's almost like an even if you're an unintentional auditor, just doing something where there could potentially be a legal gray area out in public makes you part of that process. I would say in some sort of vague abstract you are. If you were looking at it on an individualist level, I would not label that person an auditor. If you were in a crowd of somebody, I wouldn't label that individual an auditor, but I would say they were acting in an auditory fashion in a sense because they're associating with the auditory group and they're also participating in the event. If they were going to be arrested, they would get arrested with the group, even if their personal goal isn't there. I'd say that fits the criteria. Yeah, I can see what you're saying to some degree. I don't know the proper level or dimension to classify it on. I just
and see,
Is auditing an intentional act?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like in some degree, he's right, and there's a plane of explanation, like guilt, like association. Like if you're in a group of people that are auditing and you're associating with them and doing the act, even if your intent isn't there, you're still technically part aiding and abetting and associating. You're auditing. So I.
Yeah, anytime you're testing the limits of said right, you're in fact performing an audit, if you know it or not. Because really, what is the common understanding of our rights? I mean, think about it. A lot of people think that the First Amendment states that there's a separation between church and state, and they say, oh well, then politicians can't use their religious ethics to help them write legislation, and that's bullshit. It is that the state cannot make an official religion. You know, there's all these different rights that we have, and people don't understand. I don't fully understand them all. You know, the Fourth Amendment, the right the right to privacy is that's the Fourth Amendment, right? That's you got to have a warrant.
The right to privacy generally comes from different amendments. It's more of an understanding, 14th. But yeah,
14th, yeah.
But you are right. Search and seizure is the fourth.
So I mean, I don't fully understand that one. You know, there's all these different rights that exist that we don't fully understand, and I blame a lot of that on our education system for when they teach American civics that they don't really dive into it all that heavily. Like people who are 1A absolutists would hate my opinion on Islam in America because I don't believe that Islam should be allowed to be practiced in America. Well, separation of church and state, they shouldn't make any rules that'll bridge the. I'm like, no, I'm not saying Congress has to make a law. I'm just saying we just outright ban the practice of Islam in America. But, you know, I'm extreme.
I'd say anybody that's just pro First Amendment would take umbrage with that. You wouldn't have to be like what Witt calls himself, a First Amendment extremist, but bans people from his server for using slurs. So I'd say just a normal First Amendment person would probably say, you can't ban a religion.
I don't think we should ban Islam as a practice or as a religious practice, but I would ban Islamic immigration. I wouldn't let immigrants that are Islamic come here. I would ban immigration from Islamic countries for sure.
So there are certain aspects of different religions that we do not allow the practice thereof. In America, it is illegal to sacrifice animals in the name of any religion. If you are a worshiper of Satan and it requires the sacrifice of an animal or a human, that is not allowed. Okay, you can ban actual parts of religious practice from the country. So what you do is you just say, you can't practice Islam. You can be a Muslim all you want. You can't practice it. That means no congregation, no mosque, no nothing.
So Pentuple, real quick, you think like a troop going to war at 18 and dying for his country is, whatever, that's how it is. But don't you find it a little bit weird that he can't even have a drink until he's 21?
I would lower the drinking age to 18 probably.
Or maybe raise the war age. Either way, you think that those two things being out of balance is weird. Well, so Turkey is an Article 4 ally. So
where's this going?
if this Article 4 ally is willing to go to war and die if the United States is attacked, they're going to send their people to war to die for the United States just because of a treaty we have with them. You're saying they
I like how
shouldn't
we
even be
think that's
allowed
going to make the difference.
yeah, they shouldn't even be allowed to immigrate into
Turkey,
a
please
country?
get involved, or we're going to lose.
And I mean,
Well,
Turkey makes some fucking crazy. They're the ones supplying Ukraine with the
Sure.
drones right now
Sure.
for the front
well,
lines. So
but here's the argument. Here's the argument that you're not considering there, Tyler. We were attacked. We were attacked on 9/11. Article 5 in NATO was actually brought up. It was Article 5. Article 5 was raised, and Turkey did not respond. NATO responded. We actually flew NATO AWACS over American soil.
This is. Am I wrong that this is kind of like if my next door neighbor was like some world class fighter, and he was like, "Dude, if anyone comes fuck with you, call me. I'll be over in a minute." And it's like, yeah, you call me too, bro. It's like it's kind of a one sided thing, isn't it?
Well, no, it isn't. It really isn't.
Like he's not gonna call me for help.
Well,
He's
so
fucking.
I'll tell you this: in the War on Terror, um, we had Germans, we had Aussies, we had the Brits, we even had the French out there. Most of NATO showed up and did a part, not necessarily a major part, but did a part. Turkey stayed the fuck out of it. So, as far as the Article 5 argument goes, never trust a muzzy. I'm just saying.
their Congress, what I remember from that is they were trying to send in. We were supposed to have a joint force, and they were going to send the majority of the troops to go into northern Iraq in the joint force, and then their Congress ended up voting it down. So
Well,
the plan was for them to come in. They did come in to a lesser degree and send in special forces and things like that helped us.
well, so here's the deal. The Turks actually outlawed uh, NATO coalition aircraft from flying through their airspace in order to attack Iraq. And I've been to Incirlik Air Base in Turkey, in Adana, Turkey. Beautiful area if you like third world shitholes. But the food is good. So, I mean, there's that. But the Turks are a fair weather friend. Really, the only reason why they're in NATO is because they allowed us to park nuclear weapons there for decades, and it was basically they were going to be the brush fire that we would allow to burn after Russia attacked them, uh, to allow us to send enough force in order to destroy the Russians. They were a diversion tactic. I think our alliance with Turkey is woefully overstated, and the fact that for several decades under the Operation Northern Watch, we had part of the deal was we would fly around, and when we located the Kurds, we would have to share all of our radar and intel telemetry with the Turks on the ground. As soon as we located enough Kurds, for some reason the telemetry would just shut down. Oh, there was a ground relay station that failed. Oh, that means y'all got to land, guys. And as soon as all the Air Force planes land, Turkish Air Force F-4s take off fully loaded with bombs. And interesting enough, they always came back about 2 hours later empty. It was amazing how that always happened, and the Kurds that were located and such usually would be found massacred. So yes, a very very strong ally. Fuck the Turks.
On top of that, more recently, they've been letting Russia fly over no-fly zones and U.S. bases and things like that in the area too. So
Yeah, I'm very. I had fun when I was in Turkey, and I wouldn't trade any of that for the world. But knowing now, if I knew then what I know now, I would be a hell of a more of a paranoid mess while I was there. I'm just saying. But I did get to go see the Tomb of Job while I was over there. I thought that was pretty cool. There's a lot of biblical stuff that happened in Turkey, believe it or not. So, yeah, good stuff.
No, okay, bad example then, because Turkey sucks. So let's say Indonesia. They're not fighting and dying for us, but they're a trade ally. They're the fourth biggest country in the world. They're a member of the G20. They're a very civilized country for being an Arab and Muslim majority
Well,
nation.
from the UN aspect, they are also one of the largest contributors to peacekeeping forces with the Blue Hats. So, Indonesia, where they are not war fighters, they are world class peacekeepers, believe it or not. So,
And you
I
guys don't
encourage you
want
to.
them into the country either?
No, I don't want Muslims.
No, I don't want white Europeans coming. Do you get it yet? I don't want anyone
Well,
who's not like, I don't want immigrants coming here. I don't want people who aren't in my family to live in my house. I
well,
love you guys. I
Do
just,
you want
you should have your house. I should have mine.
what do you
now
have
I
for retirement?
he doesn't
For a
right now.
retirement home. Well,
I'm just
you know what?
playing.
If my life luck continues to this degree, I will end up in the same retirement home as Tyler, and I'll off myself after 3 years.
Well, okay, here's the deal. My
No, you
problem.
were wrong about Israel. I was right. You see, you saw
See,
what happened during the World War IV.
I argue that that followers of Islam should not be allowed into the United States or the West, period. Okay. Now, if they publicly renounce their God, if they renounce their Allah, if they renounce Islam, they can come in. Okay. That'll make them an apostate and they will be like public enemy number one in the Islamic community. But hey, if you want to come to sweet, sweet freedom, you're going to give up your freedom to worship your child molester God. That's just my opinion. However, under the current laws and everything, as long as you're a law abiding Muslim who is willing to assimilate into American culture, I'll begrudgingly say sure. But you got to do that A word first. You got to assimilate. So
Yeah, I just
And
don't
you're
want immigrants. And
saying
if we're gonna take any, they shouldn't be Islamic.
there's no interpretation of Islam that can assimilate properly into the United States.
no,
Probably not.
absolutely not.
There's not like in terms of moderates. Like look at how many moderate Christians
You
are
mean
in
like
here.
the
When
secular version of like, oh, I'm a
Yeah.
Muslim
Wait,
because my parents are
okay.
Muslim.
So
They're not really Muslims, are they?
no, no. Okay, so like Ali, Ali is one of the guys that does the debate stuff. Okay,
Yeah,
he is
sociologic.
he's of Islamic background, but he's not a Muslim. Now he gets mad when you tell him that, but he doesn't practice Islam. Okay, he would actually be an apostate. He just hasn't renounced it yet because he knows that if he does that, his own parents will probably kill him because that's how they work. But in all in Islam and Judaism is what they call an orthopraxis religion, meaning that you are saved through deeds. Okay, you are the being religious isn't enough. You have to practice the religion. If you don't practice the religion, you are not part of that religion. You can be what they call a secular Jew, having Judaic racial background and even religious background, but if you don't practice Judaism, you're not really a Jew. That's why they call themselves the secular Jews because they're not real Jews under the Judaism flag. Same thing with Muslims. A Muslim is not a Muslim unless they actually practice Islam. And there's arguments amongst the moderate Islamic community versus the more zealous community. At what line do they delineate between a real Muslim and a not Muslim?
I mean, I that's again, this is the extremist interpretation because I'm sure again there's different parts of the world where they'd say that Christianity is not being practiced enough in the United States, and generally most people in the United States that are Christians say that they probably don't practice enough. But like if you look through some of these
But
different
wait, there's a heavy line there. Christianity is an orthodoxic religion, meaning that you are saved through faith, not necessarily through actions.
well, that's the thing is these things that you're saying have these definitions are somewhat up for interpretation. If you look at the 9:5, the sword verse that was used to like saying that you're killing people, striking these people down is good and holy. This was limited application. It wasn't the entire world. It was different tribes who broke treaties with them and betrayed them in these things. So in a way, it's almost, that's kind of how the Jewish faith is. I don't remember the phrase, but again, it's like if somebody in your family dies, there's a certain prayer of remorse, they're going to go to heaven. If somebody in your family is killed, the literal translation of it is something along the lines of like, may God seek vengeance on their blood or something to that degree. And it's like, that is part of it. If somebody wrongs you, fuck them. And Christianity is the only one that says turn the other cheek, but even interpretations of that justified how many 9 crusades, 13 crusades.
Well, I mean, turn
the
the other
Crusades are
cheek.
based.
Turn the other cheek. The funny part about that is the common misconception is take it like the bitch you are, when in fact it was a warning. Everyone gets one, Tyler. Everyone gets one. You turn the other cheek. You're basically you're putting the chip on your shoulder and you're daring the fucker to knock it off. That's what you're doing. You're offering the other cheek. Strike this, see what happens. Everyone gets one, and that's the sociological interpretation of that time. It wasn't take it like a bitch and immediately forgive them. No, offer the other one and say, I wish a motherfucker would. You know what I'm saying?
I'm just saying, like in modern, like Indonesia, and again, modern Christianity is a better example because it's a much older religion. A lot of these draconian practices are weeded out. Even Iran at one point, in like the 1960s, they had women scientists in Iran, and then the extremists took over. Even just one country juxtaposing it against itself, and again took over because
you really
Afghanistan went in. Yes,
I'm not saying
you really believe a woman was a scientist once.
Okay, yeah. There's more women scientists in the U.S. than men. That's actually a woman's job. It's like baking, but with chemicals.
That's
so
a woman's
true.
job. But
I have thought about that before when I was cooking. I was like, this is like science, kind of. I'm like
But look,
doing experiments.
Here's the reason why you'll see me rail against Islam. There is no such thing as moderates, and the reason why I say that is because the ones that are actually moderate, they left their shithole countries to come to a place where they can half-ass practice their religion without being threatened to be killed.
Well, let's
Okay.
also just be serious, Tyler. If the majority of this country was Muslim, they would use our democratic process to institute Sharia law and
They're
other
already
Islamic
doing
practices.
that right now. You
Right,
see
but
that
that's just what I'm
happening
saying.
in Dearborn.
Christian majority nation allows for you to do all whatever you want. We don't enforce our religion. That wouldn't be the case if Islam was the dominant religion here.
So if Christian nationalists took over, they wouldn't do the exact same thing. Like if Andrew
Christian
Wilson,
nationalists are who built this country.
was Andrew
So, no.
Wilson's group of Christian nationalists? No, they weren't Christian nationalists.
No, they
I
weren't
mean,
Christian nationalists.
I don't
Some
think
of them-
Christian
some of them were
nationalist means that.
deists.
To me,
Well,
Christian nationalism just means putting Christians in charge of the roles of power. It doesn't mean
okay,
that we're going to
so-
make it like we're going to abandon the constitutional principles of freedom of religion.
The way Andrew Wilson puts it forward, the way he describes it, is that you have to have you base all your laws within Christian ethics. That doesn't mean that you have to practice Christianity. Now, I will tell you that's a lie. That is a lie that he is putting forward. Same thing that the Muslims are doing. We will act within the guidelines of your society until we become the majority, and then we will enact our true things upon you. Now, I'm not saying what he is doing is nefarious. Far from it. Okay, Andrew's actually a really good guy, but I think he's not 100% forthcoming. Okay, he is let slip a couple times. That's right, because that wouldn't be legal once we became, the majority. Okay, it's just like the Dearborn mayor who they named a city street after a Hezbollah terrorist. They utilized our processes to become the majority and then started
Absolutely.
instituting
Any
that's
group
always
would.
the game. It's always the game there.
Yeah. Any group would. The progressives do it when they're in power.
Yeah.
They do it. Yeah. Every group does it. And Andrew Wilson, let's say hypothetically, you had a group of Christians that was just as as fervent and took the literal parts of the Bible, the Old and New Testament that were violent very seriously as well, and came to similar violent conclusions as some people have in the past. And let's say they looked at the U.S. Constitution and capitalism, and they're like, this allows usury. And you're like, well, actually, usury allows people with bad credit scores, like kids and shit, to get their first loan. They might be paying 28% APR on that $5,000 car, but then they build a line of credit, and down the line, they end up getting like a 4%, 3% loan on their house in 10 years. So it's a good thing.
Is that what happens?
Yeah, that's what happened to me. Exactly what happened to me.
You took all right.
28% on a Crown Vic, $5,000 Crown Vic, 28% APR. Paid it off for 5 years. Now my credit's sitting at 8.
So I'm not really. So I'm not saying what Andrew Wilson is doing is nefarious. Okay, I need to go ahead and put that out there. I just think that he hasn't fully considered all the implications for what he advocates for. I think once they became the majority, like I am actually happy with basing legislation on your ethics, whatever they are. Okay, if you're going to vote for a candidate, you're going to use your ethics, your moral background, your beliefs in order to determine who to support. Okay, I did that with Trump. When I decided to cast a vote for Trump, it was literally because he was talking about the shit that I'm interested in. He was literally talking about putting America first. We want to be America first. What we really want to do is we want to make sure that everything works out for us first. And that's what we vote for. We're not voting for someone to represent England, Israel, Iraq, Syria. We're not looking for any of that. We're looking for an American president. So yes, I used my American nationalist morality to determine who I voted for. So it's just the name of the game. Everyone does it. Everyone does it one way or the other. I'm actually surprised that Muslims will actually vote for Democrats, considering how antithetical they are to their moral framework.
Well, I mean, they're useful for if there's ever going to be a Muslim majority, it's going to be through the Democratic Party.
Yes,
they're going to be the ones that allow all the immigration in, and that's why they're going to end up in a position to take over those positions of power. But this is why I say Christian nationalism to me, and I haven't engaged heavily with Christian nationalism as a movement or as a theory. I'm very just baseline America first MAGA. But to me, Christian nationalism would mean like putting Christians in positions of power. Like if I have a choice between a Christian and someone who's not a Christian, I want the Christian to be in that position of power. Of course, there's other considerations to have, but generally speaking, if that's the one variable I'm looking at, that's one of the most important ones. If all else being equal, I would choose the Christian.
Ask you this: would you rather have a secular guy with ultimately outwardly good moral opinions? I mean, almost verbatim following the Christian doctrine of ethics, or would you vote for an LGBTQ Episcopal frickin' rainbow love priest?
Episcopalians aren't. No, I would vote. Okay,
one is Christian,
we're talking about Christians. Not. Look, I get what you're saying. There's someone who identifies as a Christian and someone who doesn't, but in practice, one is more Christian.
The point he's making is you want your laws to be based off the Bible, not Christians in power. But it doesn't matter who's in power as long as they're doing what the people demand.
So would Christian nationalists consider themselves anti-constitutionalists?
They should.
To a point, they would.
But would they? Because then if that's the case, perhaps I'm not necessarily a Christian nationalist.
Well, so you could be a Christian and a nationalist. That doesn't necessarily make you a Christian nationalist. Now, I'll ask you this: do you think that the laws of Deuteronomy should be followed?
Can you give me an example of one?
Kill the gays.
No.
Why? It's God's law, right?
We shouldn't kill people. Isn't it also God's law that thou shalt not murder?
Thou shalt not murder. However, thou shalt smite down any man who lays with another man as if it was a woman.
I think it should be a social taboo and discouraged.
Well, so the
fake Christian.
No. The biblical argument would be that when Yeshua or Jesus was talking about render unto Caesar what is his. He was not only talking about ceding land when the state calls for it or paying taxes. He was also living the society of which you were in. So back in the day, if you got a homo, yeah, bury them up to their neck and beat them with stones until they're dead, whatever. But in today's society, that would not be acceptable. So there is that argument that you are still following biblical law, you know, by not killing them, even though it literally says in Deuteronomy, kill the gays. Because we are living in the society in which we are in.
I can say I definitely don't think we should kill the gays, but I do.
What about put them in prison
sure.
like Russia does because of their Christian ties?
No, we cannot have state religions. As far as I understand in the Constitution, we do have
early states did have their own state established religion. We have no federal religion based on the Constitution.
Well,
I don't know where it is now.
I think the Articles of Confederation did not have that stipulation, and I think that was a time frame of what you're talking. I could be wrong. Constitutional scholar guy? That's you.
Oh,
you did like a whole.
I got to prepare for these conversations. We're just running off the top. No, yeah. I mean, yeah, Tyler is correct that like I think 12 of the 13 original colonies had their state constitutions had state religions.
I think that was under the Articles of Confederation, though. I don't believe that was under the Constitution of the United States.
Well, it was their state constitutions, so I don't know if that's changed or what.
Well, 1788 was the ratification of the U.S. Constitution. So
right, but the states itself,
even the state constitutions were mostly written well before that, and so that's kind of why I say that was more than likely under the Articles of Confederation. When the U.S. Constitution became ratified, those provisions disappeared or were unenforceable. Although it used to be not too long ago that all politicians would have to swear loyalty towards Christianity, essentially. Yeah, my understanding. Of course, Druid is saying that wasn't until the 14th.
So 8 states right now in their current constitution still have something in there saying that the Christian religion should be preferred, favored, or is preferred for people to follow. Almighty God clauses and old references to Protestantism in North Carolina. Preamble acknowledges Almighty God and also favors Christianity in Pennsylvania. Things like that. But generally, they can't say there is a declared religion and then enforce it because of the no religion. Yeah, so it's just toothless. It's toothless. This is our favorite.
Yeah, and look, I prefer Christianity over all else. However, if it's Episcopal, if it's Lutheran, if it's you know, some of those quasi religions that have rainbow flags everywhere, no, they're not Christian in my mind.
Is Mormonism Christian?
No.
Yeah,
they believe everything up until the point of Jesus coming to America.
The reason why I do not like Mormonism is one of those weird ones, right? Have you ever met a Mormon with a bad family life?
No. I watched the Mormon channel too.
I actually like a lot of the things the Mormons stand for, but the reason why I draw some problem with them is because of Joseph Smith and the founding story of Mormon. You know, so the fact that this con man had golden tablets.
How do you know he's a con man, though? That's like you're starting with that premise that he's a con man.
Look,
are you talking about Jesus? Are you anti-religion?
No, I'm just saying. To me, I would say Mormons are Christian because they believe in and accept Jesus Christ as their savior, and not every historical text that could have ended up in the Bible is in the Bible. There were some books that were left out by whatever organization decided to choose those for the New Testament. And
the problem,
the idea that somebody
was around during the time of Joseph Smith, and she said that it didn't happen that way.
Well, I don't know all of the Joseph Smith lore, to be honest. But like when people reference the like reading of plates and stuff like that, is that much crazier than building a giant boat to survive a global flood? I mean, that sounds ludicrous to me. Like, there's a lot of things that are. It just, I think if you're going to define Christianity, it's pretty simply defined by, do you believe in Jesus Christ? That's the one thing that all of the denominations of Christianity have in common.
Mhm.
And so if Mormons believe in that as well, the distinctions and the other differences between them, just because they don't believe in the exact
You know what?
same, like,
You know
well,
what?
I mean,
Actually,
actually,
great
Mormons
argument.
believe in the New Testament, don't they? They just
Yeah,
have like
yeah,
an
yeah.
additional book.
Yeah. So look here. I will see. You convinced me. Okay. Mormons are Christian. I like them slightly less than I do the Methodist or the Episcopal or the Lutherans. But Christian nonetheless. However, they don't fly rainbow flags. So you know what? I'm now ranking them over Methodist, Episcopalians, and Lutherans.
There you go.
And here's the deal. Here's the deal. You should invite gay people into your church. You should let them know that their lifestyle is not one that you condone.
Yeah.
And you should show them the way, the truth, and the life. And
Yeah, they're no different
drive
than
them
any other
towards the
sinner.
truth. Drive them towards being a better person.
It's just a gross sin.
You don't hate them. You shouldn't hate them for their sexual deviancies. But you shouldn't condone them either. And that's where I have the problem with the Episcopal, Methodist, and Lutheran Church, is they actually allow, first of all, women should never, ever, ever be a leader of a church. They could be a leader of a women's congregation, but they can't be a leader of a full congregation.
We need a female pope. We need a woman pope. And as far as chat, Ferrier Wild's chat, they definitely do believe they are Christians. And I do say there's all these different denominations of Christianity. At the end of the day, they believe in Jesus Christ as their savior. That's at the top of the.
I mean, yeah, and
the differences.
You know what? You pointed.
And you know who doesn't believe in Jesus as the savior? You know who doesn't?
Tyler.
Not Tyler. I'm not talking about Tyler. I'm talking about our the people that we have to defend with our greatest fervor. Tyler knows who I'm talking about.
Yeah, who is Jesus the king of again?
He's the king of all of us. Shut up.
No, he was
he was
physical
labeled
body
by
on.
the Romans specifically.
Yeah, he was a descendant of some
Doesn't
guy
matter.
named David. Who was he
Doesn't
the king
matter.
of again? What
Doesn't
group
matter.
of people that he belonged to that he was the king of?
Christianity is fundamentally based on Jesus Christ. It doesn't matter that he was a Jew. Doesn't matter.
No.
Jesus doesn't want us to be Jewish.
Actually, Jesus wanted Jews to be Jewish and believe that he was the Son of God. He had no problem.
Israelites
He
have a
wanted the
very
Jewish
important
people
role
to
the
believe in
Bible.
him.
Israelites have a
When Jesus comes
extremely
down,
important
he's
role.
not going to be like, "You guys denied me. Hell yeah, that was awesome."
They're God's
No,
chosen people.
He's going to be.
No, they
You
were.
guys denied me. Hell yeah, damnation. I mean,
No, the church is the new Israel.
I don't think Jews believe in hell.
Yes, they do.
I think that they just believe in like you go to heaven or just like purgatory. I don't think they have a
Purgatory
actual...
is a Catholic made up bullshit. There is a hell. There is a hell for Jews. However, they boil in excrement. So not only is it hot, but it's also smelly.
I missed that.
Yes, hell is hot and smelly under the Jewish religion. You boil in excrement.
Yeah, no, it's temporary though. It's called gihadna.
It's temporary? What's
That's
temporary?
my Yiddish. Yeah, oy vey. It's temporary. Maximum 12 months for almost everyone. Only a handful of the worst people in history are destroyed or punished longer.
What?
We talked about this on Vibe's Bible study show. I remember this. They don't believe in the actual concept of hell. There's
It's not
different
an eternal
versions.
hell.
Yeah, it's more like a spanking.
It is a separation. It is a separation from the Lord that is the true punishment.
In a sense, it's the original concept of purgatory. It's not eternal whatever. You go there, you have to make up for your...
Under the Catholic ideals of purgatory, you would basically be in between the realms of heaven and hell in a nothingness, separated from the Lord and everything, until your sins are atoned for, which you didn't.
Yeah, this is more like an alpha
time.
test of it, like the alpha, and then purgatory was refined to the 3.1 version.
But you know, the first pope, the first actual pope, was a Jew. You really want to you really want to see Catholics freak the fuck out. They was it Paul or Peter that they called the first pope?
Yeah, who cares about the Pope?
Well, he was a Jew. He never was quote unquote Christian. The Christian church didn't exist till about 200 years after the death of Christ. So
It didn't pass Judaism until about 600 years after as well.
yeah, and then around 600 years you see the advent of Islam, where an illiterate wannabe Judaic prophet who happened to be of Arab origin attempted to do what all 13 and 12-year-old Jewish kids can do and quote the Torah, and was promptly laughed in shame out of the town square by Jewish rabbis. Yes.
Yeah, the first pope's name, his actual name, was Shimon Bar Yochna.
Yes. When I think of religious men, I think of Shihan von Yochna. Yes. It's but the
Jews aren't Christians.
They're just the
Messianic Jews
leaders, the leaders of Christianity. You're the
Messianic
followers.
No,
of
they're
Christian.
not.
Yeah. It's like the capitalists, how like a leftist would define capitalism. Capitalists are the owners. You're just consumers. You're wage slaves.
For Goyim.
Oy and vey. No, Messianic Jews are Christians. All other forms of Judaism are not Christian because they deny Christ as their savior. Hence the
So
Messianic.
Jesus was a Messianic Jew.
Well, Jesus was the founder of Messianic Judaism, yes. Or Yeshua would be his actual name because he was Hebrew. Jesus is something.
Yeah, but I
the
speak
French made
English.
up. But yet you speak French when you talk about Yeshua. So you should probably call him like Jacob or something, if you know.
Jacob.
It's more of an American name, you know, more of an English name. Jesus was actually Yeshua is a French name.
Too many church songs. It is Jesus, unfortunately for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we should have a Christian immigration only.
I actually like Sadie's idea. 10-year moratorium on all immigration. Take care of America first. Once we get America stabilized, we'll rebuild our infrastructure and things like that. Yes, more than able to.
That's an argument they brought up to me at DebateCon that I had to think of a counter argument to. It might help us somewhat in the short term, but what you're doing when you bring in legal good immigrants, not the illegals, not the people that jump over the border, not the asylees that you let flow in, but the actual good ones that are vetted and want to come here to work, the best of the best, is you're setting up your economy for 10, 20 years down the line. You're borrowing a little today to make it exponentially more tomorrow. They generally open businesses at higher rates, work at higher rates, get educated at higher rates, especially from certain countries like the Philippines and Nigeria and others. So when you cut that off for 10 years, you may help us in the short term a little bit, but you're really not saving that much money, and in the long term you're losing a lot of money that could potentially be coming in. There's other ways to do it,
but you're looking at it strictly a fiscal sense. I'm not. I don't actually care about the money saved. What I actually care more about is the rebuilding of our country, and right now we're 3 days away from a fucking civil war. You know, if the power drops, if you know,
sure,
things like that. So we need to, for the strategic sovereignty of America. I'm not saying that it has to be 10 years. I said I like the idea, but ultimately I believe that there needs to be a definite focus on American infrastructure, rebuilding it, stabilizing the country.
It should just be forever. Why even put a deadline or a time limit on it?
Here's why.
Yeah.
Because rich smart fuckers like you, Pentuple, who went to college and got all these degrees and stuff, you don't fuck.
Well,
Okay, make
that's
children.
okay.
Start making children. Start fucking. And
Yeah,
but
maybe
until
maybe I
then-
would if I wasn't so demoralized by all these immigrants.
but here, no, that isn't it. You just have no swag. You have no.
Cope.
No,
But-
in 10
no.
years, I'm gonna have 6 kids, and you're gonna be
Look.
like, okay, maybe you did. I'm gonna
Okay,
be like,
look,
hell
and
yeah.
then I'll high five you, call you Chad, and move on.
All right, good.
The
Remember
reality-
that. Clip this.
Yeah, the reality is, right now we are falling under replacement of our own people. So we do actually need to bring in migrants. Now, I'm actually all for if they're willing to assimilate, become part of the country. I don't care where you're from. Seriously, if you're willing to assimilate,
Wait.
you are welcome. However,
Unless
you
you're from
have to come
Indonesia.
legally. I
You-
actually
hang
dated an
on.
Indonesian girl for a while.
Well,
She
she's
was-
Muslim. She can't
she
come.
was.
Sorry.
If
she
we
was,
got rid of,
and when she was like, we should marry, and I told her no because she wouldn't convert. I asked her if she would convert, and she said no because I'd become an apostate, and my family would kill me. And I'm like, then no. I mean,
are we actually below the birth rate of just replacing our people without abortions being accounted for?
Even with abortions, I
even
don't
with
think it-
abortions,
yeah.
unaccounted for.
Because we
yeah.
could get rid of all the killing of all the babies that we've
Well,
been killing. That
You
would
get
help.
rid of abortion, you're going to see a drop off in pregnancies. It's as much as I don't want that. People are
Wait,
as
what?
soon as they lose that option, they're going to take it more. Oh fuck! I can't go get an abortion. I'm actually going to take this condom seriously now for the first time.
Why
So-
do you think that? These people already don't want to get pregnant, and they do.
Abortion's a contraceptive afterthought to some nihilistic teenager. That's why they don't
Yeah.
give a shit. It feels better this way. But if now I can't,
Yeah, but
go
you think
and-
they're gonna have the foresight to not get pregnant?
generally, yeah, we've seen that with education and whatnot. We've seen pregnancy rates plummet.
No, I don't know. I think that we outlaw abortion. I think and here's the thing. I don't know that this trend of the
I'm
birth
all
rate
for
is
outlawed
like.
abortion.
I mean,
Hold on,
this
I
is a
wanna-
cultural thing. Like,
Because you're making an
it's-
argument, but Jason's making one specific real quick. Before we get too far away into the abortion direction, I want to go back to. So let's say Trump tomorrow says we need 7 million homes, something he was saying on the campaign trail. We need 7 million homes. So tomorrow I am signing in order to do 100 or a million, let's say, a million work visas for people from Mexico to come in because those homes need roofs. And if you need a roof put on, there's the motherfuckers to do it. And we repopulate those Home Depots that ICE cleared out with people that actually have work visas, get them picked up, get them on jobs, and get 7 million homes built. You see the price of homes come down significantly cheaper than deporting people, which costs like sometimes $20,000-$30,000 because they have to go through all the court processes and appeals and whatnot. So
They
I don't
actually
care how much it costs.
so hold on.
Democrat.
So I will argue this.
What?
Immigration is handled on the Article 2 side of the Constitution. Appeals are mostly denied in immigration court. The fact that we have Article 3 judges stepping beyond their fucking limits that were congressionally mandated, all of these judges should be impeached. Judge Boebert, he is going to be the litmus test. And if our politicians do not impeach him, that is a failure, and everyone should be, tarred.
he's
feathered.
still going after the administration, even after he's been slapped down now by SCOTUS and 2 appeals court saying, look, bro, you have zero jurisdiction. You cannot go after. He's still trying to get him for contempt.
So there is a definite problem within our justice system, and I blame Pentuple because he is a lawyer, and that's the only one I can blame at this point, for allowing Article 3 judges for overstepping their bounds, because the judicial system and the bar associations aren't holding their members for account. Because who can impeach judges, Pentuple?
I don't know.
Well, Congress can
Bad lawyer.
That was going to be
However,
my
it
guess.
should
Was
be-
Congress?
However, it should actually be the judiciary themselves. They should be self-policing, but they're all a bunch of cucks, including our Supreme Court.
Hmm.
Honestly, we should have Judge Clarence Thomas. We should make him dictator over all the judiciary, and whatever he says just fucking goes. I assure you, the first thing he does is he pimp slaps uh, Ketanji Brown Jackson. Woo, I am for real. She immediately with that pimp slap loses her robe and her weave, and she becomes a lowly law clerk, not even worthy of being a paralegal. And and then he just goes through and starts mandating impeachments on all the activist Article 3 judges. But that's my fever dream, and it would just be hilarious and awesome. And
yeah, I still want to stress test this because Sadie's idea of cutting off immigration for 10 years to like work on our infrastructure, work on our things. We need workers for those. People aren't like rushing to go do construction jobs. We have shortages.
Yeah, because the wages are depressed by all of these fucking immigrants.
Okay, but actually,
when there's a market demand for the work to be done, Tyler, if there's a market demand, this work has to be done. Right? They're not going to be able to offer these lower wages to only Americans. The only reason they get away with these depressed wages is because all of these immigrants that are willing to take them.
Actually,
so if you don't have access to these,
you're explaining really basic concepts to me right now.
Right, but then why are you saying we need the immigrants to do it? You're suggesting
to those.
Right, but your premise is that these companies will not offer higher wages to the people to do it. They have to.
Yes, and then those wages make the price of things go up. That causes more inflation. This keeps inflation lower, gets the jobs done that we need done, especially temporary jobs like this. Like we're going to fix our infrastructure. We're going to build 7 million houses, and then we're done. And now these people are either going to be U.S. citizens without a job, going on to welfare programs or workers' comp and things like that. Or we could bring in temporary work visas to do it for us and then say, thanks for work, get the fuck out. I don't understand why it's an argument for you. It's for me.
Well,
I must have missed something
as the token,
because we're in agreement on half of it, but I don't know where the rest fell apart.
Here, someone who actually works in the trades, so done his entire adult life working trades. Construction will always be underpaid because it is not a true. It's not as much of a skill as an industrial electrician, industrial pipe fitter.
You're replaceable, is why, right?
No, easily replaced. That's
what I mean. You are replaceable as an employee of these low. It's a labor job.
You don't have a strong union either.
Yeah. Well, unions. You could have the strongest union in the world, but hey, how hard is it to be a carpenter? Let's just really be quite frank about it.
It's carpenters and millwrights are together.
To be fair, and I just respond to chat. Don't Americans
plumber.
think they're above this type of labor because it's just like 50 immigrants, and you don't want to be the one white guy working there for like half the wage of all your friends? That's the whole point. They depress the wages because they bring in all these immigrants, and all the immigrants don't care because it's all immigrants.
So there is a depression of wages, but here's the deal: not all trades are equal. An electrician and a plumber are going to be worth more than a carpenter. They're going to be more. They're going to be more valuable than a concrete guy. Why? Because these are actually, at the end of the day, it's basic labor, is what they are. They're considered skilled, but they really want to put little quotations around them just to make them feel better about themselves. It's not putting down the work. It's just it doesn't take as much education and finesse to perform those jobs.
It takes more grit. You have to stand out in the sun all day and move heavy shit. And like Americans live in luck. We want air conditioning. Basically, what Pentuple's saying is learn to code, but instead of learn to code, it's learn to do construction. Like people don't want to do it. That's why we bring other people in to do the shit work we don't want to do, and then we get to do the easy, cushiony jobs that pay me to stay home and play Dota.
I would give up my job as an attorney if the pay for these jobs was higher. Like people don't want to do these harder jobs. I get what Julie's saying in chat, but it's like they don't want to do these hard jobs for the low pay that's depressed wages that they're currently at. If you tripled the wages at these jobs, way more people would take it, obviously. Like all these people that right now don't want to do it, you'd have a lot of people that suddenly do because the wages are higher.
And then you create a barrier to entry. Then only really, really, really rich people can actually do this thing unless you can get a bank to loan you $100 million to do a construction project. That's the problem they have in California. That's why their insurance is so high. That's why it costs so much to build a house, because they have all these regulations in place and don't just let the market work.
Well,
And when the market works,
Well, they also have
get those
like you have
jobs.
to have this
So,
on your house, and you can't
there's-
just like it doesn't cost that much to build a house.
There's one
It's
problem
like all
that-
these things that you have to have
no, it
in
costs
it.
a lot to actually build a house, bro. But here,
Well,
let me
I
ask
get
you
what you're
this.
saying, obviously.
Let me ask you this: what did your parents tell you that you had to do to be successful? What was the one
You
thing
know,
that
to
they
go to
always pushed?
college.
Okay, what about you, Tyler? Did your parents tell you that too?
No, I was the first person in my family to go to college. They just said, just don't fuck up any worse than you already have.
Oh well, look. I was told to always go to college. However, if you didn't go to college, find a trade. The problem is you got to find the right trade. So I am an electrician. I have went to school and have very limited non-destructive inspection trade skills like ultrasounding, x-raying structures for cracks, things like that. Plus I have college. I'm a failure. But hey, it's I actually make a comfortable living, but I'm not rich by any means. But 9 times out of 10, we tell our children growing up, if you want to be successful, you got to go to college. And I think that is a failure on American society, not because college is a complete waste of time. I think most college is, because if you get a degree in interpretive lesbian dance, I mean, it's not going to really do you anything. I have a degree in freaking communication, which, by the way, horrible social science and history. So
I got to get in something here because Adam's in chat talking about how expensive. In my defense, what I'm talking about is that, like, take the average house that was built in 1810, right? Just like basic wood structure house. That's not that expensive. The reason houses are expensive is because you have to have foundation. It has to have electricity. It has to have plumbing. It has to have all these things that we take advantage of that are like modern luxuries that didn't always exist. You can't just build a house like it existed in 1810. California wouldn't even allow you to do that. So when I say like, oh, houses aren't actually that expensive to build, what I'm talking about is like the houses that exist today, all of these requirements that you have to have, like you have to have windows, you have to have air conditioning, you have to have
Building
electricity
code.
in it.
Just building
yeah,
code.
like all of that inflates the price of housing, where it's like if you just let people build like basic structure housing that humans had lived in for thousands of years, they aren't that expensive. So
Yeah,
what I was pointing at the time is that the expense, when I'm saying they're expensive, I'm not saying they're like cheap, but I'm saying they're inflated by all of these luxuries that we demand.
You know what's even more costly is healthcare. And like back in the day when people got sick, they used to like just bloodlet them and put leeches on them. So like if you really want, you could save a ton of money in healthcare by just putting fucking leeches on yourself. Okay. Or we can live in 2025 and have the fucking internet, electricity, and building codes. What you're arguing is
I don't think that's a good comparison.
Let me
There's
ask you
necessary regulation and unnecessary regulation.
Right, but if your house didn't have like if you had to get rid of all your light bulbs and you could only use candles and like whatever, you would survive. You would actually be fine.
You would be smelling.
The old medicine of the 1800s, yeah, I won't argue with you there. We should have high standards, and I appreciate the luxuries we've got.
Fucking right wingers.
Can we at least
okay, is it bebetter that these homeless people are all fucking homeless, or would it be better if they lived in the housing we had 200 years ago?
That's mental illness.
Just basic structures.
Hey, let me ask you this, Tyler. What is healthcare?
Right.
Okay, it's being used colloquially. When it's really
so I have to ask because I'm assuming you're speaking of health insurance.
Health insurance, yeah.
Okay, now let me ask you.
Who created that, Jews?
The obvious. Let me ask you the obvious follow-up.
Oh, Adam's here, so yeah.
What is driving the cost of healthcare today, as in health insurance?
There's a few different things. There is the oligopoly propped up by over-regulating is probably a good chunk of it, to Pentuple's point. And then the other side would be the false premise of selling goods at a lower discount rate, hospital or insurance companies jacking up the price of goods, hospitals artificially coming in and negotiating them down. That's why if you didn't have a cash doctor, you pay an exorbitant amount for tiny procedures. Insurance companies get those breaks for you in order to coerce you into signing up. So I think it's a mix between public and private problems.
Well, see, I would argue a big portion of it is uh, the fact that you can sue. You can sue a ham sandwich for anything under the fucking sun. We need tort reform. We have a neighbor that lives right across the street. He's a podiatrist and a surgeon. He has to pay over $1 million a year just insurance for malpractice because he is a surgeon. We have become too litigious as a society, and where medicine has become highly technical. Um, I think the fact that you can actually bring a civil lawsuit against a doctor under terms of malpractice the bar for it is very low, is what I'm saying. That's driving up your insurance costs. The biggest thing that I really find interesting though when it comes to the healthcare discussion is the fact that I have Blue Cross Blue Shield of Oklahoma, really good
Hey,
insurance. If I go
that's what I
get an
had.
MR, if I have MRI done, if I have an MRI done, the insurance is going to pay $12,000 for that MRI. However, if I go as a cash patient, I pay $800. Why is there two different prices?
That's something new. I go to a cash doctor as well. That's something new that doctors have the opportunity to do. I work in actually in credit cards, so you can have a credit price and a cash price as long as they're listed as such, and you don't show any sort of discouragement away from the credit price, the card price, the
Well,
Yeah,
insurance
but
price, etc.
so the
why
fact
is
that
it so
there are
disparate?
Because
there's
that's
such a
the insurance companies jack the price of goods up, or at some point the price of hospitals jacking the price of service up through the fucking roof. An aspirin costs $700. Everyone's heard that shit before. And then insurance companies will come in and say, we have 100,000 people bundled together. We want to take your rates down to here. And they basically do the dance of negotiation when in reality, those are the fucking prices they were going to offer in the first place. And since you're going in without insurance, you don't have that bundling effect to go in and ask for the same discounts. So they would have charged you the whole price, something that went away. I think a lot of that had to do with Trump's first term executive order putting pricing on medical procedures.
well, and so that's just one thing a lot of people don't understand. And by the way, throwing that in the chat right now, if you happen to be a member on Kick or you follow Kick, follow me on Kick, kick.com/Vox
What's
Populi
EOD doing?
1788.
Get him in here.
But send him the invite. I mean, I figure we'll go for another 30 or so, but I find it interesting that there is such a large difference between costs for the exact same service, depending on if your insurance is willing to pay for it or not. And I think that is a problem. And the fact that a lot of people they say healthcare. Most people, when they say that, they're not only referring to insurance, they're also referring to the services provided. When leftists say healthcare is a right, do they mean that the insurance is a right, or do they mean that the service is a right? Because
I
that
think they think the service itself. That being said, though, a problem with this, the way to solve this problem is to open up the oligopoly, make it easier to get into healthcare, build more hospitals. The problem we're running into, which we have run into for 20 something years now, not enough doctors, not enough nurses. You know how you get more doctors and nurses? We're paying
you
for
import
U.S.
the
students.
cheats.
Hold on. We're paying for U.S. students, paying their entire medical school degree to get them just to become doctors. And we still can't fill the doctor's roles. If you just dedicate yourself to it, it's free. And people started doing it. Nursing schools do the same fucking thing. CNAs, PAs. The way we get our healthcare is we import them from the Philippines and we import them from India. And that's why people are healthy in the United States is because of immigration. So
So
fuck you, Pentuple.
my VA doctor is a Packy, and he's actually pretty freaking awesome. I really like him, and he is a Muslim. I don't hold that against him because he gives me painkillers. But but no, he actually doesn't. He's actually a very good physician. Although I probably wouldn't trust him to perform a surgical act on me, um, just because he's a Packy. Um,
I just think that the medical field is the best example for that. I'm glad we got to that because this is all kind of an infantile argument. They just brought it up at DebateCon, so I'm kind of trying to piece it together from other arguments.
So Tyler, you basically you want to do a debate on this channel, something I highly encourage. I am going to be doing the Stillman debate series, as I talked to you about. I just haven't written out the um,
Did you
the
tell him how it
rules.
works and why it'd be so funny if me and Tyler debated Israel?
Oh well, no, he already knows. I've already ran this by them when
It'd be
people.
so funny we got flipped.
Yeah, you have to argue the other guy. That's why it's going to be called the Stillman
I could
debate
absolutely
series.
do
Well,
that.
Israel's the greatest country ever.
That's why it's fun with me and fucking Cleaner doing this because Cleaner, we've done 4 grid things and all 4 of them are the same thing. What's the prompt? Okay, what side do you want? I'll take the other one. One of us says that, and the other one's like, I think this would be more fun, and like either of us could have easily taken both sides of the debate. So
you guys are just so fucking smart. You guys have the fucking highest IQs on the planet.
No, it's just a love for debate that you don't have because you're a coward.
Well, no, it's because he's a lawyer and he wants to get paid for it, and he only wants to have.
That is not true.
I don't get to debate anywhere. I have a wife. Everything she says, I have to fucking do. I go to work. I have a boss. Everything they say, I have to fucking do. The only time I get to speak up for myself is online. All right, so fuck off.
Yes, there are things that could be said about that. But hey, do you get to pick at least 2 or 3 dinners a week?
I generally pick the meal prep that I make. I cook. I do most of the cooking. So.
Oh, you do most of the cooking? Are you kidding me?
It's not that she's bad. She's very good and makes good things. But
made a good roasted chicken.
She made a really good roasted chicken.
Look,
that was the chicken.
And I made a really good condiments.
How do you say it? The chicken barbecue?
Lechon.
I love Lechon.
It was chicken Lechon. It was fucking good. I
love Lechon. But
did she make what we had when me and Sadie came over?
No, that was me.
When I
that's okay. Through, it sucked.
When I come through, I will help her make lumpia for fuck's sake, because God bless lumpia.
Yeah, well, I'm just really I've been fucking working in restaurants until I was 29. I think is when I got done with college. So
and look, if she can make a good adobo, that's a good girl. I mean.
But no, I just like to. I think that's the best point I've come up with on that is Pentuple. We are giving free college education if you become a nurse, an RN, a fucking CNA, a fucking PA, a doctor, and U.S. workers are just passing it up. They don't want to do it. It seems too hard, too much work, maybe bad hours. They just don't like it. What do you suggest we do to fill that if we cut off all the Pajits and Panois?
Okay, hold on. You're saying that we offer free college and professional education to nurses?
In several. I know multiple people. I went to high school with a few. There's one she's looking into as well. Absolutely, they'll pay you.
There's a lot of companies that will pay. Now,
the companies
are indentured. So
I knew that. I know that
for several years. As far as the doctor side, from what I understand, is hospital systems will sponsor doctor students.
I got you, Drew.
Medical students.
Yeah, conscript them with the force of law.
Yeah. You conscript them for 12 years. They pay for 8 years. They pay for 8 years of college. And in turn, you have to do 12 years of service to them before you.
So take the government gun, put it to their back, and say you're working this job now. Are you going to call them comrade? Comrade?
Start at age 5. Identify the ones that have the best aptitude for it.
I joined the military. I gave up 4 years of my life for 4 years of college. Now I
went to law school for free.
It took me 12 years to roll out of bed one day and ask myself, why the fuck am I still in the military? But I literally joined the military with the intention of going to college. So, I mean, those programs exist.
I'm just, Pentuple, you're advocating for communism. I know it was a meme here.
No, I'm not advocating for communism.
Serious answer on this. What is your solution to get doctors and nurses to the point that the United States population needs them, especially a boomer aging population, if we don't import people?
It's an interesting question. Yeah, I have to allow.
I want to hold your feet to the fire. We're not getting away from this. And also,
incentivize
I'll tell you
it.
something
You don't
else
have to
about
pay
that
income taxes if you're a doctor. We could like stop taxing the
We're
fuck out
already
of us.
incentivizing the fuck out of it. We're literally paying people to do it, and they're still saying no. Like we're paying them to go get.
Well, how are we paying them?
By paying their entire college. Like different hospitals, companies will pay for people, pay their entire training.
Now, a lot of people when they go into the medical field, especially as a doctor, they do it with the intention of going into a private practice, and the fact that they are hamstrung for at least 12 years of their life, where they cannot hold a private practice because they work for a hospital system, that kind of deters most people who want to get into medicine.
And still, I mean, if they say, hey, you have to work in our hospital for 12 years so we can make a little bit of money back we just spent on you, that's kind of like, I get it.
DEI doctors.
At the end of the day, I mean, it's over $250,000 just to make it through medical school alone. That's not including the $80,000 that it's going to cost to get you through your undergrad. So, I mean, at the end of the day, you're looking at $320,000 to $400,000 just to get the ability to take the test to become an MD.
And hospitals make like 3 cents for every dollar that they bring in. So it's not like they're breaking fucking.
Yeah. It's not a large for profit. It's not like the pharmaceutical companies.
By the way, I'm anti-immigrant. I'm not anti people coming to the physical United States to work in our markets if we have a demand for it.
Wait, stop.
That's immigration.
Stop. That is immigration.
No, it's not. That's immigration means you make him a citizen.
Oh my God, stop.
Well, am I wrong? If we let them come work here and do a job and then leave, that's not immigration.
That's immigration.
That is exactly what immigration
I
is.
immigrated to Germany for 3 weeks this summer.
No. You went and you visited. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. And if I had worked the job,
then yes, you would be an immigrant. You would be under some form of immigration status that would allow you to legally work under.
Well, there's obviously a word for what I'm talking about then, because we brought people here and said you can work here, but you can't become a citizen and remain here forever.
What's that called? That is an immigrant. That's an immigrant under a work visa, is what that is.
You're an immigrant on a work visa? I don't know.
Yes, you could be an immigrant under a work visa. Guess what an H-1B
How dare you invoke that fucking name, Tyler?
Now
I saw you in chat.
So after you come here on a visa, different types of visas, and we've had you here for a few years, and we've determined, okay, this is a good person. They haven't committed crimes. They didn't violate any of their demands that we put on them through the State Department laws and regulations and such. Then we offer them citizenship to get them to stay and continue working, and especially in jobs that are temporary.
But did they assimilate?
That's part of the. That's part
so
of the condition.
If they assimilate, I say no problem. If they're still shitting in the streets,
no. A temporary work visa holder is generally not considered an immigrant.
The fuck?
I just asked: is a temporary work visa holder an immigrant?
God. You asked Grok.
It says no. A temporary work visa holder is generally not considered an immigrant. They are a non-immigrant. Because an immigrant stays here.
Actually,
immigrants, individuals who intend to live in the country indefinitely and often pursue paths to citizenships. Well.
Permanent immigration status. It's after the work visa once we offer them citizenship once they've worked here for X amount of years.
The colloquial definition is any foreign-born individual that comes to another country for any amount of time is considered an immigrant.
But to work,
that's the colloquial.
You said I had to work in Germany.
If it's for work, then yes, you would be an immigrant under the way.
No, I'd be a foreigner.
So
no.
Then
we immigrate and remigrate, remigrate.
Well, so you can bring in immigrants and then you can emigrate them out of the country later. Yes. I don't think you have to have a permanent residency goal for you to be considered an immigrant. I don't think that. I think that's hyper specific.
Well, immigrant or not, they're not allowed to stay and vote. Okay.
Oh well, look.
That's the answer.
If I had it my way,
bring the doctors.
if I had it my way, there wouldn't be anyone voting who didn't unland.
Bring a doctor, sir. Bring a doctor, sir, and let him do the work, and then you'd send him back after he's done with the work.
Hold on. You're saying bring in an immigrant, give him 8 to 10 years of free education.
No.
Make it. Well, how are you getting doctors then?
Wait, are we the only ones who train doctors?
We do not accept. So here's the truth. Like, there's a buddy of mine who I went to school with over at OU. His name was Salim. He was an interpreter for the U.S. Army in Iraq. He was a surgeon in Iraq. When he came over here, he was not allowed to practice medicine. In fact, he had to reaccomplish all of medical school in order because
that's Iraq.
Dude.
Is that every foreign country? Do we accept any foreign country credentials? Maybe we don't. I don't know.
Many Western countries we do, actually. So UK, Germany, European countries, we tend to. Western medicine, yes. Believe it or not, we do not accept Cuban medical degrees.
The communists? Yeah, I don't know why not.
Believe it or not, the one thing they do well is they underreport their illnesses. That's really what they do well. Because the effing communism is for food and for healthcare. But supposedly they have great healthcare.
Died off starvation.
It's never happened. Yeah. But
we don't have to. We don't have to have these immigrants.
So
again, how do you get doctors?
For a Pajit,
incentivize
to become a doctor, they have to be taught in a Western school.
Give them stickers.
My VA doctor, who happens to be, a Paki, he actually went to school in America to get his medical license. So we do not accept the school of Indian street shitters. We don't accept their medical credentials. I'm just saying.
Okay.
So not all countries, but many Western countries.
It's dinner time. I gotta go.
All right, man. Thanks for coming.
Yeah,
through.
I bet you do. You're definitely not just trying to get out of this debate. You're getting
I
owned on.
I want the answer to that question. I'm gonna hold your feet to the fire.
It's actually a good question.
All right. You know what? Fine. I'll think about it and I'll figure it out because I don't think we have to immigrate a ton of foreigners to do it.
Well, Tyler, where can you be found? I know most people here know who you are, but go ahead and
average debate enjoyer. I think everybody in chat subbed to me, so we're all just cool and average debate enjoyer. YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, and
he's running because Adam's about to join.
Is he?
Maybe, I don't know.
I don't want to hear about Israel.
We're actually going to cut it here in just a moment.
Okay.
Yeah, appreciate you coming through, man. Enjoy your dinner.
It's not dinner time.
She said it's not dinner time. Yeah.
Did she really? We got to clip that.
Yeah, that was funny. Y'all clip that, guys. No, that's an interesting question that you don't have an answer for, and I think you should find one. Yeah.
I bet. You know what? I'll assure you this. I'm gonna find an answer that isn't just fuck it. We'll just bring in a bunch of foreigners.
And see, I don't accept the Tyler answer either fully, but he does have a good point, and that is a weak point in your position and one that you should remedy.
Well, I don't know that I believe his premise. I guess you guys can prove this, but it doesn't. I don't just buy that we're offering free education for this job that pays so well and nobody's taking it. I don't know what those incentives are, but
I don't know how many like that exist. I know that some hospital systems do offer those programs, but they are usually most of the people that those would be offered to were already on full scholarships and everything else because of how competitive the medical industry is. So it's that's a different thing, but it is an interesting question because there is a fact that we do not have enough of Americans going through medical school in order to keep our healthcare industry thriving. It is a valid question, one that should be explored.
Granted.
I'm not saying it is the strongest argument. I'm just saying it is a good argument, and it's one that I myself have not considered, and I doubt you have either. So,
well, no, I certainly haven't spent any time recently thinking about that.
Well, I mean, It's a new avenue. It's a new avenue of thought. Um, what days do you stream?
Uh, most days, not most days, not even most days. I don't know. I just stream sometimes.
You need to stop.
And
the
my headphones
sometimes.
just went out on me. Hold on, let me turn you on. All right, there you are.
We need to get you away
Oh,
from the
I
sometimes.
still can't hear you.
Jesus,
I'm
Joe.
cooked. You can hear me though, I think.
Yeah, I can hear you just fine because you
Yeah,
need to get a wired headset.
I do need to get wired headphones if that's what you were saying. I saw him grab the wire.
Yeah. Oh my goodness, such fail.
Damn, you're not coming
That's
through anything though. I gotta change my settings. One second. I got this.
That's okay.
I got this.
Pro streamer move, y'all. Pro streamer.
All right,
Move.
we're back.
I
Yes.
haven't streamed in months, and the
Oh,
guy
you're
who-
back. We're so back.
So back. No, it's an interesting line of thought, and I think it would be interesting to see your take on that. I honestly have to think about it myself. I don't know, but you know what? We're over 2 hours, and I just need some time. Thank you everyone for coming through. I don't know when the debate with Tyler and Cleaner is going to be. Pentuple, shout yourself out.
I'm Pentuple. You can find me everywhere as Pentuple.
However, you
I'm
won't find him on
retarded.
Twitch because he'll start streaming on Twitch and then immediately shut it off. You
That's
won't find
true
him on
because-
Rumble because he does the same thing there.
Yeah, follow me on Kick. That's where I want to be. Kick. And I guess X, but mostly Kick.
Kick is Twitch Junior, but it is growing to become Twitch Prime.
It is going to be better because, yeah, it will be.
So, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, thank you for coming through. I am Jason of Vox Populi. Remember, the voice of the people. And if y'all want to participate in some of these panels, don't be scared to hit that link. I'll bring you up and we'll talk about anything within terms of service. Thank you so much. You have a good day and God bless. And yeah, then I click this.